And we are live. So here we are. Welcome to episode 67 of An American Werewolf in New Jersey. And I forgot to advertise the episode, of course, or at least put up a modern episode, a modern update in any of the social media streams, but that's okay. Welcome to the show, Brom Bones. Once again, thanks for stopping in and hanging out to discuss movies one more time. I always appreciate it. And I think we've got a really good movie to cover tonight. And I think a really appropriate Halloween mood styled movie. A very good haunted house flick. The second haunted house movie that we've covered, and maybe the third ghost story that we've covered this month. Ghost stories are kind of like the stepchild when it comes to horror films over the standard werewolves, and especially now with all the possession films and things like this. But these ones that we've covered this month, The Changeling that we did at the beginning of the month, and then last week again with The Fog, which was not a haunted house movie but a ghost story, and now this movie, The Others. 1 month and 3 ghost stories and 2 haunted house movies. So if you're ready to go, we'll get it going.
All right, let's rock.
Boogie woogie. So before we get started, Eric is in the house tonight, and he says, great choice tonight. Saw this in theaters, great atmosphere. So here's my experience talking about this movie. I went to see this movie in the theaters in 2001. It's 20 years old now. This is a 20-year-old movie. Where's the time gone?
Yeah.
And I went to one of the old Atco multiplexes. Down there, there was a couple of them that are right off of 30 and 73, and just big multiplexes like they have at the Regal. And I went to go see this, and somebody decided to bring a baby.
Oh God!
To The Others. Somebody brought a fucking baby into The Others.
I hate that.
And you're like, what the hell are you doing? Like, to The Others? Really?
Somebody brought it. No, I was gonna. Speaking of babies, somebody brought a baby into one of the Star Wars movies, and I knew as soon as they brought that baby in there, it was going to start. And sure enough, somebody actually stood up and turned around and was like, "Take your kid out of the theater," and they did. You didn't hear from them again after that.
The person should have got free tickets for a year. I remember going to see Avengers Endgame, and I had this was back when I was overseas, and we had these big reclining seats. They raised up, and the footrests.
That's cool.
You had like a slide out table for your food or whatever.
Oh, nice.
And there were 2 seats next to me, and nobody was sitting there, and I was perfectly content. And then all of a sudden, about 5 minutes into this movie, this woman walks in with a 7-year-old and sat right next to me. And the damn kid for the entire movie never stopped asking questions. What does that mean? Gosh. What is that? What's going on? What is he doing? Why is he saying that? Huh? And I felt like saying, will you please just shut the fuck up?
Yeah. Well, I remember another bad experience. I took my dad to see one of the Lord of the Rings movies. I forget which one. And we're sitting there, and there's a couple behind us, and I guess the woman must have not spoken English or something, because the guy's translating the movie.
Oh my God.
Like, all I hear behind me is this through the whole movie, because he's translating. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just ridiculous.
No.
I mean, come on, man.
No.
I mean, I've had some experiences where, like, the audience is actually like funny, and they like enhance the experience, and like I'll sit there and laugh at their antics, because I remember when I went to see Black Panther, and with me and my brother-in-law, and it was this woman and her daughter or something, like two seats over. They were a riot because they just kept like, hang that motherfucker. You know, they were just going, it was hilarious just what they were saying. So it didn't bother me, because you know, I wasn't like, it was like whatever. But at that point, you just have to give up and roll with it. But it wasn't like a movie that I was like dying to see. So, and I like Black Panther, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a big difference between, like, you could practically turn the volume off on Black Panther and still watch it.
Oh yeah. You
know, you can't do that with the others.
No.
You know? And yeah, I mean, it happens from time to time, but I mean, still, you're just like, Jesus Christ, why would you bring a baby to a baby? Fucking baby.
Now, this is speaking of the others here, and you were just saying about ghost stories being the stepchild. That's an interesting observation. Like, so do you think ghost stories essentially don't do as well as other kinds of horror movies?
I think that yes. One, they don't get made nearly as much.
That's true.
I mean, you know, there are tons of vampire flicks out there.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I think we just saw something the other day where they said that they're going to remake The Wolfman again.
Oh my gosh!
I think I put it in the texting group.
Because the whole Universal.
It's going to be Ryan Gosling.
Oh my gosh!
This time. So there are tons of vampires, tons of werewolves, tons of possession movies. They're about to reboot The Exorcist into a trilogy.
That's ridiculous.
You know, the serial slasher movies. I mean, you know, what's it been 43 years later? We just had another Halloween movie.
Yeah.
But you don't really get that many haunted house ghost stories / ghost stories.
You don't really.
A lot of them are actually quite beautifully done. We've covered The Changeling here for this month. John and I covered The Changeling.
Yeah.
You and I, were you? Wait, were you? Yeah, it was you for The Fog, right? You, me, and John. Yeah, you, me, and John for The Fog. Now we're covering this. Before we went on the air, we started talking about Mike Flanagan and The Haunting of Hill House, which is just beautiful. I mean, it's like perfect storytelling.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I don't think they're as common, and I think they kind of get overshadowed by the more traditional movie monsters.
And I wonder if they tend to get more, you know, cliche than the other ones, because I mean, there's only so much you can do with a haunted house. You know.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm just wondering, you know, why
there's the opposite. I feel just the opposite. I feel that if anything, vampires, you know, and you know,
they're overdone.
They're completely cliched.
Yeah.
So
zombies are overdone. Yeah,
zombies are overdone. I mean, you know, one of the more original ones that I think we did recently was, well, we did two. We did a Train to Busan.
Yeah.
And then we did Wreck, you and I, which isn't exactly a zombie movie, but you know, it's got that infection, contagion, kind of thing going. But haunted house movies, they're more subtle.
Yeah, I think
you know,
so.
They're more subtle. They're more hopefully character driven, story driven. You know, they don't necessarily rely on gore or
they don't.
Huge CGI, you know, things.
And that was one of the things I liked about the others is there was absolutely no CGI at all.
Yeah.
And it was all practical, and it was fine. I mean, I don't have a problem with CGI when it's done right, but it wasn't, it wasn't, there was no need for CGI in that movie.
Well, again, consistently, what I find, and I'm saying it again, the best horror movies are the ones that are driven by characters that have very human problems.
Yeah.
And that is clearly what is going on in this story.
Yeah, and it's an interesting twist. And we were saying too, I was just saying that for me, I don't really this movie, I mean, yes, it's a ghost story, but it's not it's not scary, and I'm not saying that to be to trash it. I just think I was really involved in the story and the characters. For me, it was kind of more of almost like a supernatural drama, if you will. I mean, I saw it that way. I wasn't like scared. I mean, the characters were scared, obviously I knew, but there weren't any, I don't think it was made, I could be 100% wrong, but it seems to me like it wasn't made to be a quote unquote scary movie. You know what I mean?
I think it had some great atmospherics.
Yeah.
Definitely moments that I recall. And I didn't experience them this time. But when I first saw it, and maybe the second time that I saw it, maybe the second time that I saw it, that were scary.
Okay.
Like when the children are in the room with Victor, and they're having to fight over the curtains.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
There were certain things, and you're like, what the hell? And she's yelling at Victor to knock it off, and he can't sleep because the other little boy is just so scared, and he's scared all the time.
Yeah.
But to watch it this time, I really got a sense of how morose and sort of sad.
Yeah, it is.
Everybody is here.
Yeah.
You've got, once again, I'll just say, and I've said this before, I've had my fair share to say about child actors and their limited range, but these two were fantastic.
Yeah.
They were just fantastic as the brother and sister and the children of Nicole Kidman, who are living in this house, I guess, in the English countryside. Just after at the conclusion of World War II.
Yeah.
And it's this setting that's surrounded by, the fog.
Yeah.
Plays such an important, understated role in here. And we had just covered The Fog, Carpenter's The Fog last week.
I was thinking about that when I was watching it.
Yeah, we were having all these cool things to say about the fog in Carpenter's movie, but then you watch this movie, and the fog is just, that surrounds the house and the hills, and everything
the fog was kind of in this. I saw it as kind of like the border. She couldn't go past that. That was the spirit world kind of border.
Yeah, but you didn't understand that.
No,
necessarily. And so it's oppressive.
Yeah.
And there's no sunlight.
Mm-hmm.
There's no daylight ever.
Yeah.
Even during the days, she can't figure out why. And she can't figure out why the fog won't lift.
Yeah.
She's never seen the fog last this long. And the children, they have this photosensitivity, so there can be no light in any of the rooms. Mm-hmm. And so the impact of light in this movie, whereas in some scenes there would be, light, I guess, like what you're seeing in yours and my camera view here now. And then all of a sudden they would draw the curtains and the room would just go black.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just added to this sort of, sad and, morose and, depressing.
It was a very,
that they lived in.
Yeah, it was a very depressing atmosphere, but I think that overall, when we learn what happens, that's depressing. I mean, it just goes along with everything. And it's funny because the first time I saw it, it obviously the twist didn't click until the end, but watching it this time, there's little clues throughout the movie.
Oh yeah.
Like in that first scene when the servants walk up and the gardener, I like the gardener, Mr. Tuttle, and he's
Mr.
like,
Tuttle.
he says something about, oh, I thought he was dead too, or something like that. He says something along those lines. And, and so I paid attention to that this time.
This idea that the girl is Anne is saying that the servants aren't coming back.
Yeah.
And that
they ran away, and
there's this
and she doesn't understand.
thing. There's this unspoken thing about what their mother did. That their mother went mad
that day.
What happened that day. And even when we did the intro here in the video, no doors to be opened before the previous one is closed.
Mm-hmm.
And that was no new information, until they pass through, until they finally close the door on the old.
Yeah.
The information for the new is not going to be revealed. And it's sort of addressed in this sort of overt way where they're talking literally about the doors.
Yeah.
Because you can't let the light in. But I mean, in reality, it's a much larger statement.
Oh,
And it's sort of the premise for the whole movie.
Yeah.
You can't pass through the new door until you close the door on the old,
And it's funny because but the servants were there. Now I saw the servants as kind of, there they are. They were there to kind of guide, what's her name, Grace, and the kids.
Yeah.
To kind of get them to realize that, what the truth is.
Yeah, which they're dead.
Yeah, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen this movie, it's 20 years old.
Yeah.
It's 20 years old. You have plenty of time. They're dead. Yeah, everybody's dead. Even the husband is dead.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. So they're drawn to that house because the servants died of tuberculosis in like 1891 or something.
Yeah, 1891.
But they're kind of like, they've been sent to kind of like
help them transition.
Yeah. Because and when that reveal comes about that they're dead and that the others are the living people.
Yeah.
That was cool. That they're the people holding a seance. I thought that was pretty wild.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, the thing is that yes, they're helping, and this seems to be a movie about how the dead sort of interact with each other.
Yeah. Okay.
And so, I'm like, that's actually, that's what's going on here. But you don't realize it.
No.
And then it's not so much that Mr. Tuttle and Ms. Mills and, the other girl are helping them. Well, I feel in some way they're helping them inadvertently. Like they're just drawn to the house.
I don't know because
here's the thing. None of them know where they really are.
Okay.
Because there's this constant reference to the children's limbo.
I was going to bring that up. Yeah.
That there's a limbo, sort of this place in between.
That's what I was
having. You're not in one of the lower places of hell.
Yeah.
That's what I was.
Yeah. That's what I was going to bring up is this movie really had that's what I liked about it were these conversations about religion and the beliefs and this stuff like that, like with
Catholic. There was a Catholic outbreak.
Yeah, but I thought that was really interesting and how the daughter is kind of a skeptic. Anne is kind of a skeptic, and these kids, and at the end, that's what I was saying to Michelle. These kids are essentially in limbo, not by their own choice, but and because and so my thing is now here's my question: when the father disappeared, when he left, did he go to heaven? I mean, I don't know, because he's not in limbo with them. He left. He went somewhere else. He saw his kids. He had his closure. He saw it. There he is, Doctor Who.
Chris Eccleston.
Yeah, he was one of the Doctor Who's. He reconciles with his kids, but he's mad at his wife. If you notice that, he's still mad at her for what she did.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if maybe, I know it's not explained, but I'm wondering if when he left, he went to heaven, or something like that.
I'm under the assumption that he did.
Yeah.
And that, he sort of, he seemed like he was sort of lost in passing through.
Yeah.
Just kind of bumped into each other, and maybe he was drawn back to his home for a while.
Yeah.
But then, I think he stays long enough to center himself.
Mm-hmm.
And then transitions away.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is that, none of them know where they really are. And that's revealed at the end, because the girl, Anne, asks, are we in limbo? And she's like, I don't know. Nicole Kidman is just, I don't know. Finally they sort of become equals in being dead. It's not a mother-daughter necessarily, I'm in charge relationship anymore, because she has to admit, I don't know any more than you do.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing. I think it's a very, and I think it's a very tragic story, what happened, how they died, that the father was killed in the war, and Grace went nuts and smothered her kids.
In the isolation.
She smothered her kids
there
and then she killed herself because she couldn't handle it. She was in despair. And, so when that opening scene, when she wakes up screaming, I'm wondering if it had just happened.
That's exactly what I thought. That's exactly what I thought. There's an opening scene where she wakes up from this nightmare, and there's some reference to a pillow, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And you find out at the end of the movie that she smothered her children, and then she shot herself.
Yeah.
And so, this is kind of her arrival.
Yeah.
In this new place.
Yeah. And it's sad. I mean, it's a sad movie. It's very tragic, when you hear what happened. And my thing is like, man, those poor kids, and they're stuck now in this place, this limbo-like place, because their mom put them there, kind of thing. And so
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and so are the three servants. They're kind of
the three servants. I get the distinct impression they want to be there.
Yeah.
They want to be there. This is where, they died of tuberculosis, more than 50 years before Grace even shows up in the house.
Yeah.
They seem to have the run of it. Sometimes we know that we sense that other people are in the house. Other times we don't know at all.
Yeah. Well, Well,
they're much more at ease.
Yeah. Well, they do say, these ghost experts, they do say that ghosts are drawn to a specific place where they lived. They have a connection to a certain place that they were at in life, so that could be that too, but yeah, it was pretty wild when the reveal of the others were just these normal people who were having a seance because they bought the house and they were trying to contact, there's Victor. Yeah, they were trying to contact the spirits to see if they could coexist. It was like Beetlejuice, where was the
others the mom? Was that Joan Allen?
I don't know.
The one who was insisting that they leave.
Yeah, I don't know who that was. I don't know any of those actors.
Okay.
But yeah, it was almost like Beetlejuice, where they have to learn to coexist. But in this, I thought it was interesting because they weren't the normal people weren't there to cause any trouble. They were just trying to see what was going on in the house before they moved
into the house. They moved into a haunted house.
Yeah. They
were trying to figure out, exactly what was happening here. And Nicole Kidman definitively declares that no one can make us leave this house.
Exactly.
So you're left under the impression that at the end of it, they're going to remain there.
Yeah, that's what she said.
They're not going to transition. They they've discovered, that they're dead. They have achieved a bit of relative peace because, they're there with the servants now. There's almost sort of a hierarchy, but they're equals at the same time.
Yeah. You know what another clue that they were dead is when they're at the breakfast table and Anne is eating this food and she says this tastes different or it tastes funny or something, whatever the line was. And, stuff like that. That's what I like, little subtle things. And that, it was interesting too, because when I first saw it, I wasn't sure what Miss Mills's angle was. I wasn't sure, like, was she the antagonist or was she, but she's really not. And like when she leaves the picture there for her to see of the three of them dead, to kind of like, nudge her a little further. Yeah. Which it was a really grisly practice back then that they used to take pictures of dead people. Yeah, that was gross. But they would, that was a weird practice that they did that.
I think Nicole Kidman called it macabre.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah, it is.
But it was a way for, like she said, it was a way for people to, like, what did she say? It was a way for people to, like,
in case their souls were trapped, or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, so they, but I like those little hints. And then, like, when she told Mr. Tuttle, like, it's time to uncover the graves and all that stuff, and that
because you are left for a split second to believe that they are the villains.
Yeah.
The children are running from them. They're ghosts. You find out that the servants are dead.
Yeah.
But then the big reveal is actually that everyone is dead.
Yeah.
And they're dead too.
Yeah. It's really, it's a neat movie. I mean, I think it's a definitely an original twist in that, on that. And, you could argue, well, The Sixth Sense did it first, but I mean, this is different from that. I mean, yes, he was dead the whole time.
It's apples and oranges, and I know. They're both fantastic movies.
Oh yeah, I know.
But I mean, I think I haven't seen The Sixth Sense in a long time.
Gosh, I haven't seen it in like 20 years.
Yeah, that's what I think. Maybe I saw it the one time, and for some reason, I just never got back around to it again.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
But I'll have to get into that sometime soon.
But no,
go ahead.
No, I was going to say this is a solid ghost story. Like
I said, ghosts. I think ghost stories don't get their just due.
No.
We were going to do The Legend of Hell House with Vincent Price.
Yeah.
There are quite a few Vincent Price haunted house movies.
Yeah.
I think stupid movies like Amityville end up taking a lot of the,
I think
oxygen in the
honestly. I think Amityville killed it for a while. I think the original Amityville, killed the whole haunted house craze for a while. I could be wrong, but that movie is, in the words of Charles Barkley, terrible. It really is. It's just.
I think that was the first something. No, it was like the second or third something shitty.
Yeah. The scariest part of that for me was James Brolin spending half the movie in his underwear. I mean, it was just really bad. But I mean, that's the thing. Like it might be harder to do a good ghost story. That's why people don't touch them as much. I don't know.
It's because they're more complicated. You can't depend on gore. You can't depend on, big special effects necessarily.
Exactly.
It has to be really good storytelling. So
because
you don't get it nearly as often. I said, I think Mike Flanagan has done two. And if everybody's watching out there, you see this in the replay, get to Netflix. There are two really good limited series, but from Mike Flanagan on Netflix right now, The Haunting of Hill House, and then The Haunting of Bly Manor. And those are just fantastic. They're fantastic stories. And now you have, I think this is another reason why it doesn't necessarily make it into the big cinema houses anymore, is because you can create these series now.
Yeah.
And you can do more.
Mm-hmm.
You can do more with 7 episodes than you can. I mean, this was like an hour and 30 minutes, an hour and 40 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
You can do more over 7 episodes than you can over 100 minutes.
Yeah. And I think we were talking about this briefly from one of the other episodes. I mean, and also, you got to read your audience. I think a lot of people just aren't interested in ghost stories unless it's something like, possession, which isn't ghost at all, but that's close to it. But, something like that, they would rather see gore. They would rather see slasher stuff. They would rather see Saw and all that kind of stuff as opposed to a ghost story. Because again, I think a lot of people, ghost stories, maybe they think ghost stories aren't as scary. They can be if you do it right. But, I don't know. There was one of those.
We're talking about this now, and how many people even necessarily know about the haunting of Hill House?
Yeah, exactly. There was one of the ones. Speaking of Vincent Price, that actually kind of scared me. It was one of the. I forget which one.
Was it?
No, it wasn't the Tingler. I haven't seen the Tingler. Actually.
Oh, really? I have it on DVD. I have to watch it sometime.
Yeah, that could be an episode.
We'll get some popcorn or something. Yeah.
No, it was one of the ones. They did a remake of it, a really crappy remake. But where he's in they have to spend the night in the haunted house or something.
He'll give them 13 Ghosts.
No, that's not. No, that's the other one. But it was a William Castle movie, but he wasn't in 13 Ghosts. It's whatever the other one is. Where he pays people to stay in the house overnight.
They did the remake with Jeffrey Rush.
Yeah, but there's this
and his
one.
Wife is Famke Janssen.
Yeah, this one is like the one guy falls in like this pool of acid or something ridiculous because it's Vincent Price, and and so, but what was creepy about it when I first saw it was when he falls in and then this skeleton comes out and starts floating across the room. It was a trick by Vincent Price's character to scare the people, but the way it was done was cool. So that creeped me out a little bit, But yeah, it's you gotta. I don't know. I mean, I think you can, with the right story, you can scare people with a ghost story. Or in this case, you don't have to scare people. You can just make it an engaging story, which is what this was.
I think that you had a story with people who were isolated, and clearly unbalanced.
Mm-hmm.
I think the servants came off as far more balanced, and so you had this sort of back and forth banter going on between these various groups of adults. But then they would throw in just a little bit of horror every now and again. That slowly sort of built. And that's what made it such a great story, because it's not premised on the scare.
No, it's not.
It's premised on the isolation. It's premised on, this woman, she doesn't exactly have the greatest relationship with her kids.
No, she doesn't.
It's very antagonistic.
I think there's a resentment there because of what she did to them.
Yeah. But they just don't know that they're dead.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, when Anne, especially the daughter, she talks about that day and stuff, and that she attacked me and stuff. There's resentment because they don't know they're dead, but they could have thought, hey, she tried to kill them, in their minds. They don't know.
My mother tried to smother me with a pillow.
Yeah. They don't know that they're, until the end that they're actually dead. So I think there is some resentment from her anyway, from the daughter. The
boy's too young, I think, to process it that way.
Yeah. So
it's a worthwhile flick. I would think that anybody who's seen this, or that will probably see this, has seen it already. But it's been 20 years, and
I think it's one of the ones that gets lost in the shuffle. It's not when you mention like Halloween movies or you mention
no one thinks of this.
Yeah, when you might mention ghost movies or haunted house movies, this one just kind of falls through the cracks. It's a very underrated movie. I don't know how it did. Of course, I don't really care about awards and things like that, but I believe it was well received, from what I understand.
It was very well received. She had just come off of Moulin Rouge.
Yeah,
and she didn't want to do it.
Oh, really?
She tried to find another actress for this. She started it, and then she's like, "Look, I just came off this other movie that's completely different from this. Yeah. I don't know if I want to go to this super dark place."
Yeah, well,
you
know what?
And she did, and it was.
It's probably one of her best films.
We're talking about it 20 years later. I don't think anybody's really talking about Moulin Rouge anymore.
No, I had refused to see that anyway, but it just wasn't my cup of tea. But the thing, that's what I always think about these. It's funny, like her saying, "Oh, I don't know if I want to do that." It's like, look, you're an actress, okay? I'm sure that paycheck also helped her decision, But it's a really good character movie, and Nicole Kidman she's good. I mean, she's
a really good actress. Yeah, she's a really good actress.
She's one of those I've never seen a bad performance from her. Yeah. I haven't seen everything she's been in, but she's always good, and she can hold her own.
I'm looking here, and it says, go ahead.
And now I don't really know any of the other actors in the movie. I'm vaguely familiar with Fionnuala Flanagan, who played Mrs. Mills.
And Chris Eccleston.
Yeah, and Christopher Eccleston. Yeah. And for you Marvel nerds out there, he was in Thor: The Dark World. He played Malekith, the elf guy, the dark elf guy. But he was the 9th Doctor, I think, 8th or 9th Doctor Who. I don't know my Doctor Who's, but he was.
Yeah, I can't get into Doctor Who. I actually tried because I like him. I remember he was in 28 Days Later.
Okay.
And I remember I was like, "Oh, this guy's going to be Doctor Who." I can start off from the new Doctor, and it's too campy. It's too campy. I don't like.
I never got into Doctor Who. I just never had an interest. But
I think you either love it or you just
I have friends who are like, crazy about Doctor Who.
Fanatics,
yeah, which is fine. Whatever. I mean,
whatever. Yeah.
I have a friend who.
Real quick, it made $209.9 million worldwide.
This movie,
it won 7 Goya awards, including Best Film and Best Director. This was the first English language film ever to receive the Best Film Award at the Goyas, which is Spain's national film awards. Because the actor Alejandro what's his name?
Amenabar, something like that.
Amenabar. Yeah. Hold on.
He's the director, yeah.
So let's see. The Others was nominated for 6 Saturn Awards, including Best Director and Best Writing for Amenabar, and Best Performance by a Younger Actor for Akakina Man. I think that's
Anne. That's Anne.
Yeah, and won 3: Best Horror Film, Best Actress for Kidman, and Best Supporting Actress for Fionnuala Flanagan.
Okay.
Kidman also nominated for a Golden Globe Award for Best Actress in a Drama, and a BAFTA Award for Best Actress in a Leading Role, with Amenabar being nominated for a BAFTA Award for Best Original Screenplay, a rare occurrence for a horror film.
Wow, yeah.
So, it definitely got the critical response, and it made 20 years ago, made $200 million. That's
now here's the thing. And I'm just throwing this out there. It was a film made by a foreign director, okay, and it got all these awards. Now, has an American horror movie ever gotten those accolades that much that I can think of? Because
probably some of the bigger ones, but it would have to be one of the made like Freakin' and The Exorcist. I mean,
or Hitchcock or something. But the Hitchcock isn't American. But the thing is that I think I'm just saying is that if you notice movies like this and Wreck, and you have movies like Pan's Labyrinth and that kind of stuff, they're so much more original than the stuff they give us here. I mean, there's so much more original. I mean, Hollywood is the land of remakes and reboots. And, meanwhile, these guys are miles ahead of us with these movies, with the ideas and the originality. I mean, it's really neat. And that's what I was thinking when I was watching this. Like, man, like I dare an American director to try and do this good of a job, on a ghost.
We've covered quite a few European horror films on this show.
Yeah.
And I'm consistently impressed.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. Yeah.
What they're producing in Europe. We haven't got around to covering too much Asian horror.
No.
And there's quite a bit of good, especially the Japanese and the Koreans. We did create Train to Busan. That's a Korean horror film and probably the best zombie movie I've ever seen. But yeah, I mean, they're making it like crazy now, and I guess we just covered The Witch. And we're going to come back to that again. We're going to redo that again with a large panel. So I'd like you to be a part of that, you and John and whoever else. But that's not until December.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I mean, they're making all this great stuff. Studios like A24 seem to be giving it a shot. And then you're getting some original stuff, like I said, on some of the streaming services, like these stories like Midnight Mass. That's a completely original story.
I think that's where you're going to find the good stuff is on places like Netflix and like that, because they can be a little more independent. They can be a little more, kind of push the envelope, where the studios, all they want is it's all just money, and they just want the same thing over and over and over and over and over again.
Another Halloween movie, rebooting The Exorcist, all that kind of crap.
Yeah, all that nonsense. So I mean, that's why it's every few years we get this crap, and it's going to
be the smaller studios and some of the streaming services. And if you want to find it at home, you're going to be looking on. I mean, you could find limited series, like I just said. Mike Flanagan's doing great limited series for Netflix, better than probably all this is. His movies, Hill House, Bly Manor, Midnight Mass. They're probably better than all the other horror movies that they're importing from other studios combined. But you could also go to great channels like Hulu, where you're going to see some of that European horror.
Here.
So good stuff.
Yeah,
but you got to look for it a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty good place to bring it to a close, unless there was some more you wanted to add.
No, I'm good.
Okay. That's going to do it for tonight. We'll be back tomorrow night for the late show to cover and close out the month of October and Halloween Hellfire with the worst and scariest thing of all time, a movie that closes with a sleepover with Gary Busey. When we cover 1985's Silver Bullet.
That's a good way to put it. A sleepover with Gary Busey. Ooh.
Holy shit! What's scarier than that?
Okay, so gorgeous.
Yeah. So that's it for us tonight. Thank you so much, Bram, for stopping in one more time. And we're gonna close it out. And until we meet again, don't waste your time with bullshit. Good night, everybody.